You know, because like if you did like, there's a gentleman. Where's the Travis Walton's little thing? We used to have it on the desk here. Oh, it's over there. That guy right there. This guy is Travis Walton. And he's got his own bobblehead now. Man's got to make a living.
Let's go.
He was in this movie called Fire in the Sky. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's
Never.
a UFO abduction story, but it's a very famous abduction story because there was a bunch of eyewitnesses, and there was witnesses that saw the spacecraft that were in the town. He was a logger in Arizona, and he had, including people that hated him, who backed up his story. So they saw something in this area where they were logging. There had been sightings, like multiple sightings of UFOs in the past. And they saw something go through the sky and into the trees. And they pulled the truck over. This guy, Travis Walton, who was a young guy at the time, he's in his early 20s, jumps out of the car, runs over to this thing, and there's a flying saucer, like a classic flying saucer that's hovering over the ground. It was like a flying saucer, right? Is that how he described it? I believe? Yeah. Anyway, he runs up, gets too close to this thing. A burst of energy hits him. Like he got too close to it or something, gets knocked down. The other guys run. They're terrified now. They run, they get in the car, they drive off. And then they're screaming and yelling at each other as they're driving off. Like, we got to go back and get him. We can't fucking leave him there.
Yeah.
So they go back. They go back to the same spot. He's gone. He disappeared for 5 days. Then, what's like 5 days? I hope I'm not fucking this up. So 5 days later, he shows up in town, calls someone on the cell phone, calls the police, tells them his story. There's recordings of him calling the police and telling his story. No one knows what happened to him. 5 days, no food, no water, and his story was that they took him aboard this spaceship and repaired him, that he got damaged by this burst of energy that came off of this spaceship, and that they repaired him, and that he communicated with these beings. And these beings are what everybody describes as these classic gray aliens. These things with these big heads and these large eyes, and then there was different types of creatures that were on this spaceship too. But that poor fucking guy, for the rest of his life, now he's like in his 60s, maybe 70s, and that's him. He came on the podcast, very nice guy, but now he's the fucking wacky UFO guy for the rest of his life. Like Travis Walton could have been a normal guy and had a normal life and never experienced that. Like, would you rather be the person who has the unique experience that nobody believes, or never have that experience where you could just live a normal life?
I would 100% rather have the experience, I think, because, okay, maybe not the UFO experience, but the reason I think deep down that I'm so intrigued with the paranormal and like these experiences is because in a way it gives me hope of something like further than this. Like I'd rather like, instead of like not believing in anything and just being like, all right, I'm just going to die and sit in the ground for the rest of my life or for the rest of eternity. I want to, even if it's a little notch of faith that there's something else out there, I would much rather have that experience. But that's my opinion.
I mean, I would agree too. I think, you know, there's going to be people that judge you for what you believe, no matter if it is in ghosts or like even talking religion and stuff like that. So you might as well just stay true to, you know, the things you actually experience. And I would love to find out. It's answers. It's kind of like giving, like you said, like a little bit more hope of what comes next.
Do you guys feel that with your experiences that you've had, they're limited in terms of like you haven't had anything like the Conjuring house happen to you? But you've had enough happen where you've been around enough that you have questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that's where we like draw the line with like what we believe in and what we don't. Like, I don't think if I keep doing this, I'm going to start levitating. If I do, that would be the straw. That would be the final thing. If I levitate tomorrow...
I saw the Sally House video today.
Yeah?
Okay.
I watched the Sally House video today where I was working out, and those people were telling me, telling you rather, that they levitated.
Yes,
and
the medium.
Like, did you really?
But they're so like dead serious, and
they
there's
seem so
many
normal.
people.
They seem so normal, other than the fact they said they levitated.
Exactly. But dude, if I levitate tomorrow, then that's it. I don't have to do it again because
Right.
I would believe, oh my god, hell yeah, this is awesome. I don't think that's going to happen to me. No. But there's so many things that we've seen that are like, okay, that makes me want to inch a little closer or try it again or do it again. You know, there's that like, you know, spark of like, oh, I cannot explain how that happened.
What's the most profound one that you guys have experienced?
I mean,
besides Queen Mary?
There's both, like in like individual experiences that have been insane. Like for me, for example, I went in Texas. Actually, there was a spot called Bowers Mansion. I don't know what city it was in.
It was a small
town in Texas, and this was one of these spots where nobody has ever investigated, or with just like a handful of people. So we were going to be like the first YouTubers to really investigate and like put it on the map. And it had to deal with like, I think it was like a murder-suicide. Some guy like killed his wife and then shot himself. And we're trying to like, especially this year and in the future, try to just put ourselves in more scary situations so it never, you know, it's always like exciting and stuff like that. And so we're trying to do like more like alone challenges and stuff and just things that like give us more fear. And so for this specific one, I had the challenge of like staying in the entire like mansion by myself. And I was on the top floor in like a room which was deemed to be like the most haunted. Apparently a guy named like Bernard had lived there like in the past and basically was like stuck in a wheelchair his entire life and stayed in that room and would like only look out the window and that's it. And he died and apparently still in the room. And so I'm up there and Sam is not even in the house. I think you were actually in the cellar. And then one of our other buddies is like across the street. And earlier, before we all did like the alone investigation, the door as we were walking down the stairs of the Bernard room closed shut. And we were all like, wait, did you guys hear that too? Was that just my imagination? We run up there, it's completely shut. And so we obviously propped it back open. But since I knew that had happened before, I was just up there like asking questions to Bernard. And I was just like, all right, Bernard, if you're really up here, why don't you slam this door right behind me like you did for us earlier? It's just me and you. Do it. And sure enough, like the door slammed right behind me. It's like right when I turned.
So you're alone in
I'm
this
alone.
mansion.
Yeah.
And you're talking to ghosts.
Yeah.
And you're asking the ghost to slam the door, and he
Literally.
slams the door.
And he slams right
and
behind
And
me.
you're sitting there going, what the fuck?
Not sitting there.
Instantly.
Not sitting there.
Like I went into tears. Like, and it's all on camera. Like, I've never like gotten like super emotional like from going to these like haunted places, but it brought me to tears where I just immediately started walking. And of course, like this is our job. Like we want this stuff to happen.
Right.
But I've never had, it was almost more of like a jump scare that was startling than anything because it was right behind me.